Be the boss, the person who's going to RSVP first and commit and bring other people along with you. Don't be that waffler that is at the last minute. That really bugs me. And if I see you doing it, I will call you out, okay? I'm just going to tell you that right now. So... Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Boundless Show. This is Lisa Anderson here with you. Okay, here we are for our roundtable. We are going to have a conversation, speaking of churches, around what does your church do for young adults? This was born out of a question from one of you, our listeners. And I think there was a little angst around, like, I'm new to the area, I'm looking for a church, or, the malaise around, like, what does my church have for young adults? And you know that I often say here, you don't go and ask them for a menu and have them lay it out like a smorgasbord that you're just going to consume. So we will have some encouraging truths and possibly some hard truths for you in this conversation. And to make it happen, we have Emma, Andrew, and Lee. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Good to have you here. So differing levels of involvement here with young adults in your churches. Why don't you describe a little bit about how you got involved with young adults at your own church, maybe what the vibe of your church is in general, like number of young adults and all that, and then what your particular role is or what you've been involved in. So Emma, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah.
Ladies first.
So I started at the young adults program at my church right when I started going. I emailed the young adults director at the time and I said, when is it? Where is it? And how can I get there? And what do you do? And basically they told me it was at the church at the time that they normally do sermon discussion during their weekly visit. But this week they were specifically splitting out into small groups and doing kind of an accountability time and time to pray over one another. And so I went and I shared my full story the first night I went.
Wow.
And I knew no one there. It was crazy.
Okay.
But I really saw the Lord work through it because the part of my story is that I went through some church hurt, and the person that was leading that group had also gone through a very similar thing. And so I just saw the Lord at work, and it felt very timely that I go to this church as well. So,
Okay.
and then what else our church does for young adults, that is the main thing. It's on Thursday nights every single week. We do the sermon discussions every other week. On the first Thursday of every single month, we do just a meal, hang out with one another. And then on the third Thursday is when we do those accountability groups. And we split off gender-based and talk with one another about our lives and usually cry a lot and pray over one another.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Lee, tell us a little bit about where you are.
Yeah, so I'm at Village 7 Presbyterian Church, and I've served in a couple different roles there over the last 9 years, initially as the young adult director, and moved into a pastoral role, but still overseeing a lot of what we do with young adults, working with a team of people that do that. And so that's anywhere from our college and singles all the way through young families, young marrieds, and so helping organize what those groups do together. Our college ministries really take that kind of head on in their own avenue with, UCCS and at the Air Force Academy. Whereas our singles and then young marrieds and young families have groups that meet throughout the week as well. We have small group ministry. We call them village groups, but those meet different days throughout the week, and they range from sermon discussion to different Bible studies and things like that. And so I've been able to kind of try to help, get them into these groups. We get new people. It's a transient town. There's always people moving in and out, and it's a weird conundrum, similar to what you just said, Lisa, of not trying to provide a menu that they just get to pick from, while at the same time realizing people, are more, attracted to certain demographics, or that just fits where they're at in their life stage. And so I'd say that's part of the tricky aspect of my role, is providing a menu while also not trying to provide a consumer experience.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I'm guessing that for most churches, especially with young adults who are very digitally savvy, they have been on your website and or your social media probably for several months before they even darken the door. So it's kind of like, what am I going to expect? Who am I going to meet? What should I be looking for? So yeah, it can be tricky. Andrew, how about you?
So the church I go to with Reach Church, Colorado, we meet weekly. We have two groups. We have one that meets weekly. We have one that meets every other week. And I actually found the church because of the young adult group. I was going to a different church at the time that we tried to start young adults, but we didn't really have a leader over it.
Okay.
And it kind of fell apart. People wanted different things out of it, so it didn't really work out. And then I had a friend about 2 years ago at this point that posted hey, come for Friendsgiving. We're going to hang out. We're going to have food. And I said, okay, I'll come check it out. And got really involved with the group. Have been there almost 2 years now.
Okay.
And we have the weekly meetups that we all do together. We have a bi-weekly one that's more the young professionals, which is like young adults with kids. A little bit older. We do 18 to 32-ish.
Okay.
And our joke is heavy on the ish.
Okay.
So if you're 35, 36, our associate pastor comes to everything.
Okay.
And he's mid-50s.
Okay.
So it's, everyone's kind of involved, and we do a yearly conference, which we recently just had. Okay. Which is where this crew neck came from.
Oh, okay. Yep. Has a sweatshirt on, so yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
It's Movement Conference is the name of our young adult group for the nation.
Yeah.
Because we're Open Bible, so it's an association of churches.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, and Lee, it kind of reminded me when you were mentioning this, when we have churches that have, and Andrew, you were saying this too, maybe there are college students, then there are young adult singles, then you have young marrieds. Do you find that these demographic distinctions are helpful? Are they hurtful? Are they a mixed bag? Are people like, I have 2 kids. I don't want to be with these single 20-somethings. I have, what kind of are some of the conversations that happen in your groups as far as finding common ground, but also realizing that there are unique needs and distinctions among even the same age group demographically, but life stage may be different?
Yeah, I think one of the hard things about that is that there are natural things that create, different life stages. And because of that, you might say, I remember when my wife and Becky and I first had our oldest daughter, when we first had her, it was like, she was just like, I need to be around some other moms. We had a bunch of single friends, and it was like there, and that was valid. There's different stages that you go through where it's like you want to talk through that thing. And that could be college, it could be young marrieds, it could be you got kids that are in elementary school now. And at the same time, I think we realize that there is a real value and benefit from being around people that are in different ages and stages. And so you have to be able to come at it from that perspective of saying, there's something I can learn from somebody else in a different stage. And maybe I still have my other little place where I'm really digging in with people that are, kind of walk along the same time and same space as me. But that is part of the issue, especially when you're at a church that has all these different things, which is what the church is supposed to be, I don't think we're supposed to be homogenous, like just all one stage, all one demographic. And that makes church and life tricky.
Yeah. Emma, I'm curious for you, because you actually live with a young couple from your church who are young but married with now 2 kids.
Yes.
What is it, and they're involved in stuff. So what does it look like for you as a young single woman to find kind of your tribe, even in the midst of a lot of young families?
Yeah. I mean, I think about this often. I come to the church and people don't always have a pocket for young single professional, like young professional women even. Like I go and I'm serving at Awana and they're like, what do you do? Who are you? What is it that you are? And it's like, I just graduated college 2 years ago and I'm working and I'm yeah. And so it's been interesting in that realm of things. But being plugged in with key families has been a huge part of being able to blossom at the church and actually get to know people. And so the young couple that I live with, they used to be a part of the young adults, had kids, and now are more connected with other moms and dads and more in a life group now. And I try to kind of do both worlds as a young adult. I try to feed into the young adults program there and try to see what I can contribute to that. And then I'm a part of a life group that's intergenerational as well, because I think there's value in both, finding comfort in other people that are my age and being able to resonate with them, but at the same time know that they can't give me the wisdom that an older woman in my church can.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What about you, Andrew? What does it look like for guys who are young adults to be part of the church ecosystem when maybe there are a lot of older guys who, are in positions of leadership or whatever? Where do you find your place?
That's kind of the nice thing with our young adult group is we've got a handful of single guys in it, but then we also have a few that are dating. We have one guy that's married with a kid.
Okay.
And they've started going to the young professional group. It's kind of the young professional group is more the married with kids and older young adults, but we all meet once a month for an overall service. And we see each other on Sundays too.
Okay.
The neat thing, I've really connected with our associate pastor, and 55. He joins all the young adult things. He's there to help set up a bunch of stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
But he has that wisdom. He has that older wisdom about him that just he's been through life, and I've talked to him about different things. He was even at our conference recently that we did, and he was there setting up, but he was still a part of it and still connected and still praying for young adults, that anything from, the younger ones. That is the interesting thing in our current group is there's definitely you talked about the mixed dynamic of different life stages. Lee, that difference of like 18-year-olds versus I'm 28. So being towards that later end of young adults and just different life stage. We've got people that are just coming out of college or just coming out of youth group. Yeah. And are kind of figuring out, figuring out young adulthood.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. So to that point, I would love to ask all of you, if you could just clear the slate and start from scratch and make the most just dope rockin' young adults group at your church, what would that look like? If you were able to just craft this, and of course, let's, keeping biblical models in mind. doesn't only have to be like shooting ranges and, craft beer nights. Okay. Let's just, what would it look like? What does a healthy young adult's presence in a church look like for you? Lee, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah. I think that there's obviously the size, like how many numbers are you talking about? Because when you get into certain small group settings, there's statistics about like once you reach a certain amount, then it becomes less effective and things like that. But so at certain points, you're like, all right, we got to break up. We got to like maybe have a single gender for accountability time, those kind of things. I would say probably if I was able to just engineer what a group would look like, it would probably just come more from the perspective of what's the heart posture behind if I could create one thing. And that just comes from, no matter what age, young adults, olders, whatever, of just having the heart posture of just being a sacrificial servant. That's what Jesus taught. That's what I think he was trying to impart to the disciples. Even was reading the other day in Matthew 20 where he's talking to James and John and they're jockeying for position, and Jesus, tells them that, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And if we could get that, then that takes whatever group you're part of, you're thinking, this isn't about me, this is about serving, this is about ultimately like worshiping and following Jesus. And then a lot of the other stuff will sort itself out because you're not having to deal with some of those different things that really get in the way of what community is supposed to be. Yeah. And so maybe that's the most like lofty idea of what it could look like. Yeah. Because then you can have singles with people further down the road and 18-year-olds and 40-year-olds, and you say, this isn't about getting my needs met. Yeah. And yeah, I think that translates no matter what age.
Yeah.
You know.
It's so interesting you say that because I just a few weeks ago, the third week of September was National Singles Week, and I was doing a lot of interviews around that. And one of my biggest talking points was single does not equal selfish. So this idea that, just live it up, because then when you get married, now you have to start really hunkering down and caring about other people, and you're going to have a wife or husband, you're going to have kids, and I argue that, man, no, service and sacrifice is scriptural. It's not relationship status delineated. So we start now. Right. Now, I will say, to Lee's point, we have to figure out how to backfill the rest of our life and get healthy there, because a lot of people go off the rails in church because they are spinning out in other areas of their life. And so they come so broken and so needy. And so, priorities are wrong. Margin isn't there. People are, freaking out about the student loan debt and all the other issues. But ultimately, we have to rest in our relationship with Christ and where he's directing us and what that looks like. So anything to add, Emma or Andrew?
Yeah, I was going to say, off the service piece, I think one of the biggest things that I would want to make sure is part of a young adults ministry is making sure they're connected to the church and not isolated.
Sure.
Because I know some young adults groups have a Tuesday night where it just feels like you're going to church and you're just doing worship and you're getting a sermon, and you might not even need to go on Sunday and be plugged into your actual church. And so in light of serving, I would really love for the young adults programs to have a way to plug in. Like, here are your children's ministry people that you need to plug to if you want to do this. Here are your coffee service people if you feel led to do this. If you want to get involved with youth group, do this. But here are the other ways to plug in, because we are not an isolated bunch. You are just a group of people that are similar to each other, but here are ways to actually be plugged in and serve and actually do the work.
And I like that too, because I think, like, too often young adults assume, and maybe even older adults assume this in the church, that, oh, good, we have 20-somethings. They will staff our nursery. They will do Awana. They will do, junior high or whatever. And yeah, if that's what you're called to, you better be signing up. But I also say to young adults, like, if you're a CPA and you're not on your church's finance committee, like, what are you doing? Yeah. I mean, you have opportunities to use talents, skills, giftings, accreditations for the good of your church. And so don't assume that because you're a young adult, you are immature, you are unable to contribute. You need to be. It might even be you are going to work towards a maturity and an accountability that will eventually, you might be a deacon in your church. You might be an elder in your church. And so think about that and have your head on straight to be able to accomplish that. I think that's really important. I do want to kind of finish here in our last few minutes, and Andrew, I'll start with you on this question. What then, I think one of the big frustrations when I hear from pastors, when I hear from other leaders in church, is just some version of these young adults, we can't get them to commit. We don't know. They'll come to something. They'll come to the fun stuff. They'll come to something if someone else plans it. I mean, I know back in the day, I was in young adult groups where, women, we were always mad because we were always hosting stuff, and then the dudes were like bringing a bag of chips and we're like, hey. And so there's always going to be random cattiness and bitterness and stuff. And sometimes it's from the young adults themselves. Sometimes it's from church staff and leadership. What do we do? Give a challenge just, as young adults, and Lee, I know you're in a leadership role. What does it look like? Because our audience can handle it, to just straight up hear a word from you all on what the value is of plugging into your local church, being a young adult who's going to stand up, be counted, show up, commit, give some vision for what that could look like, even when it's hard.
Yeah. The biggest thing is, like, that's a community. The whole reason I found my church is because I joined that community first. And that was a point in my life that I've had bouts of depression at various points and anxiety and just kind of not feeling it. And that community is someone, like a group that could just pull me out of that. And just being around people. It's hard to commit. It really is. There's plenty of Tuesdays that I'm tired, that I don't want to go. And I go, well, I should go because I know they care. And I know that being around them is going to at least build me up in some way. Even just going to church on a Sunday, seeing them at church, seeing my friends that I have, being able to talk to other people around, it's just being there. I think the other big thing is our leader for the young adults is also a young adult. Him and his wife run it, and they're late 20s.
Okay.
But somebody who's kind of been through that, even close in age, to say, hey, like, I've been there. I know what you guys are going through. Like, I'm not here to leave you and let you go through that alone.
Yeah.
That's been a huge help at our church.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say that, we're all longing to be seen and known. There's a quote from author Kurt Thompson in Soul of Shame that I love, where he says, we're born into this world looking for somebody who's looking for us. So we all want that. But what does it take to actually get that? What is it? And ultimately, we are seen and loved and we're accepted in Christ ultimately. But when it comes to human relationships, it takes being consistent and being there. And so I tell people all the time, like, I know what you're actually longing for. You want this community thing. What does it take to actually get that, to actually experience that? And that, encompasses a lot of different things, but consistency is right up there of just, for young adults to put a stake in the ground and say, this is my group, this is my church. I'm not going to go and like look around and do whatever else. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be a part of the, create the group that I want to experience and be there. I tell people, like, being there to receive the new people. So a lot of times you'll get there, you'll get friends, you'll get community, and then you're like, now I've got my people and I'm out. It's like, well, someone was there to receive you.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone welcomed you.
Yeah.
And the responsibility to say that's what the church is, that we would be the hands and feet of Jesus and love people the way that we've been loved.
Yeah. And after that first week, you're no longer the new person. So
chances
time
in
to plug
Colorado
in.
Springs,
Yeah.
you're never the new person because everybody's new.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced that. I experienced that when I entered into a young adults group, broken from a previous church, and just seeking out a need for healing. And the Lord used those people in that room to serve me. And then now I can take that, and it took a while to heal, but he was using people in that young adult space to heal. And now I can use that healing to heal others that come into that space as well. But you have to show up.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah.
And I have to tell myself that too, because I kick myself every Thursday night and I'm like, I don't want to go. But it's sometimes an opportunity. You never know what opportunity you're going to get that night to minister to others or be ministered to every single week. And you can't let the Lord, or the Lord won't do anything if you're not showing up to those spaces.
That's so true. And that's actually the only thing I was going to add was kind of a version of that, Emma. And that is, we too often say, well, I don't need that. It could be a class, it could be a service, it could be a special project, it could be, and we'll say, well, I don't need that small group. I don't need that study. I've got, to Lee's point, I've got my friends, we're good. But you don't know who might need you. And so you might need to show up to be the person that someone else needs to be encouraged by, to learn from. Even whatever you're sharing in your small group might be something that someone else needs to hear. And so think of it, turn the table on that. And you might be the person who is going to show up and have something that you can offer rather than something you're just going to get out of it. And so I think that's important to remember. And I will say, because I'm the host of this show and I can just say whatever I want, be the boss, the person who's going to RSVP first and commit and bring other people along with you. Yes. Don't be that waffler that is at the last minute. That really bugs me. And if I see you doing it, I will call you out, okay? I'm just going to tell you that right now. So you guys, such great thoughts. Thank you so much for weighing in, really encouraging. And I hope that those of you listening are emboldened and really empowered to go and be part of something great in your local church. So thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.